Here is the snare with no processing. The first thing we have is the stereo enhancer, which I wanted to make the snare a more narrow sound. I have discussed this earlier on in the series, but to recap, it essentially gives the snare more positional definition. Originally, the snare was fairly wide, and it makes it hard to pinpoint exactly where in the stereo image the snare is coming from, which is not a quality that I like in my mix personally. Here I just use the stereo enhancer to lower the width. Inside of the virtual mix rack, we're getting some more colour from our saturators. They just serve to thicken the sound a little. Also, with these types of saturators, it helps to think about the bigger picture. In isolation, if we're honest, their effect can seem negligible, but once you've added a little to each track, you get that accumulation of all of that harmonic complexity, which just thickens up the entire mix. So if you are ever in a situation where you're listening and think, it's really not much of a change, just remember that these saturators are going on everything and the effect will compound. For the custom series EQ, we've set up a little bandpass on the top and bottom. We're just cleaning up the bottom and smoothing out the top of those. We're also doing something I don't usually do. I'm actually taking away some body from the snare by attenuating the 200Hz band. As someone who has worked a lot with rock and pop, it came as a surprise when I felt the need to do that, because that's actually something I'll usually boost and bring out more. But in the context of the mix, keeping the weight of the snare controlled help it blend with the mix better. Then we have two boosts at 7k and 10k. These both go hand in hand to bring forward some of that attack and also add some air. Next up, we're using the FG stress to limit some of the louder parts in the performance. So for an example, when we have some of these crescendo rolls, I wanted to ensure the quiet starts could be heard well and the louder parts didn't go too high above the rest of the mix. With the 401, we're doing a similar trick to what we did with the bongos. We're just making the compressor twitch on some of the loudest parts in the performance. We're using a fast attack and release and a ratio of 10, so we're essentially using it like a limiter. After listening to the AB, for me, the positionality is much more defined because of the stereo enhancer, and also it's blending much better into the mix now.